family?
I can hear you.
Do you use Skype a lot with your family?
Not too much, no. Since I came to Japan, I've mostly been using Line or Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Facebook now has a chat function, like Facebook Live or something like
Yeah, you can chat like face to face on Facebook. It's not great though, it lags a lot, but you can do it.
that. Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So now that we are all set,
Yeah.
so let's get started here.
Sure.
So tell me, well, so first of all, tell me about your um, history at UC. Okay, what you majored in, what kind of courses are memorable. Start with that, and I'll ask you a little more questions.
Sure. So I was an Asian Studies major at UC, and I was kind of a non-traditional student because I started college in 2008, and I was at UC for about 3 years, and then I completely changed directions and ended up working for a little while, and then coming back to school, and finally graduated in 2017. Um, and I mostly kind of specialized in Japanese language and culture. I took 4 years of Japanese language, and I took a various Japanese culture courses. I took several classes with Professor Ivanova, learning about gender and sexuality in Japan. I spent a lot of time learning about like medieval Japan and Edo Japan, and of course, I took the Edo art class with you.
Yes, yes.
So lots of courses, mostly focusing on Japan, but I did take some Chinese history as well. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I did.
You used to work at Bombonery, didn't you?
I'm sorry.
You used to work. You used to work at Bombonery, didn't you?
Yes, I
Right?
did. Yeah.
Okay. So you took a lot of different classes, and what did you write your thesis about? Of course, I remember, but I wanted you to just explain it, describe it.
Yeah. So my thesis was about medieval Japan, and specifically about women in like Buddhist literature
Mhm.
from that time period, and how women and women's sexuality was portrayed in Buddhist texts.
Okay. And what was it like to write, long thesis paper? You.
Um, it was a bit challenging at first. I think the hardest thing was getting started. Once I started kind of narrowing down what I wanted to write on and gather the information, it really it wasn't too difficult to kind of get into the swing of things. But getting the ball rolling initially was definitely challenging for me. I think my biggest difficulty was trying to make the topic that I wanted to talk about concise enough to write a 20-30 page thesis on without getting too far off track and into other subjects.
Definitely. And what was the most rewarding part of it?
I'm sorry.
What was the most rewarding part
Oh,
writing
the
the
most
thesis?
rewarding part. Um, Honestly, I would probably have to say having the finished product.
Yes.
um, Yeah, and the things that I learned while doing research for the thesis have really stuck with me.
Mhm.
It's something that I've actually found myself talking to a lot of other people about, especially now that I'm here in Japan. A lot of the other participants in the JET program have similar interests, and so it's really nice to be able to share the things that I learned with them.
Mhm. And you have become an expert of that, single topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I would say an expert, but yeah.
Well, more so than average Japanese speaker,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, that is great, and that's something that you can take with you forever.
Yeah.
How about why don't you tell us a little bit about your current work as a jet? What do you call it? jet. I mean, it's jet program, but what do you call the people who are jet program? Jet her?
Usually we just refer to ourselves as ALTs, assistant language teachers.
Okay.
Um, there are you can be an ALT through various programs and or schools. You don't have to be on the JET program to be an ALT, um, but that's technically what our job title is. We're just an ALT through the JET program.
And so tell us about the jet program itself and how you decided to apply for that. What was the
Sure.
application process like?
Yeah. So I had initially learned about the JET program through my Japanese language courses, actually. I believe it was in my, I want to say third year, but it could have been second year Japanese classes. But there was actually a part in our textbook that discussed the JET program. And so I had kind of after learning about it, I had asked my teacher for more information. I kind of did some research online, and I found out that you can through the JET program you can teach English to students in Japan, and I've always really wanted to teach. It's something that I've always had an interest in, and I thought it would be a good way to be able to spend time in Japan, first of all, which was another one of kind of my dreams and goals. Um, and also, get my foot in the door with teaching. And because I'm an assistant language teacher, I don't run the entire class. There is a Japanese teacher who is present at all times, but I kind of direct the lessons in English and make up games and activities and help students with their pronunciation and things like that. Um, the application process was definitely lengthy from start to finish, from the time that I submitted the application until I got my approval saying you're in. It was about 9 months, I think. So it takes a while. There's multiple stages. Once you submit your application, um, you then have to pass an um, initial selection, and then they will schedule you for an interview. And then from there, if they like you, they'll either put you on the short list, which basically means you're in,
Yeah.
um, or they will put you on a reserve list, which is basically backup in case somebody backs out or somebody goes home and leaves the program early, and that kind of thing.
And
So,
you're here in the US?
yes.
Yeah. So did you have
Yeah.
to like travel to New York or something?
For me, there's several locations that you can travel to. For me, I did all my interviewing in Detroit, in Michigan.
Yeah, the
Um,
national.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but I know there are also points in New York and I believe Chicago, and there's some place kind of in the South, but I don't remember what state or city. But there's several locations depending on how, what's closest to you. You can interview in different places.
9 months, that's a long period of waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was definitely nerve-wracking because I didn't know whether or not I should be looking for other jobs and applying at other places. Um, I personally decided to hold off on that. And I got lucky and was accepted. But I know a lot of the other Jets that I've talked to, had interviews with multiple jobs in the interim.
Yeah. What other job options did you consider?
Um, Honestly, if I hadn't gotten into the JET program, I probably would have continued my education to get a master's, and then eventually, um, I would like to teach on like the college level, either probably Japanese culture of some sort, whether or not that would be literature or art or some other aspect of Japanese culture. I'm not entirely sure. And at some point, I still may come back and continue my education, but at least for now, like I said, I really wanted to get some teaching experience under my belt, and you know, I it happened to work out for me. So
Yeah. Is it a year contract?
yes, it's a year contract. It's a full year from, the time you start till time you finish. It is renewable up to a period of 5 years, so I could spend a maximum of 5 years in Japan on the JET program. Um, After that, though, I'd either have to return to the United States and find a new job in the United States, or I could try to find a company or school or something to directly hire me in Japan. But after the 5 years, the JET program is done.
Right. And currently your visa is valid for how long?
The visa that they had me apply for is actually good for 3 years.
Okay.
Um, they suggested that I apply for the 3-year visa rather than a 1-year visa, in case I did want to stay. It just makes the process a little bit easier.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your typical day when you're teaching?
Yeah. So for me, I live out in the country in Kaga, so I have to commute to my work. And out of all the jets here, I have one of the most difficult commutes. I have to take a train, and then from the train take a bus, and
Oh,
then walk about 15 minutes to my school. Most of the other people don't have to do anything that lengthy, but my school is called Yamanaka, which is in the mountains,
in the
and
mountain.
it's literally in the mountains. So, um, yeah, most people have a much shorter commute, but once I get to school, um, depending on the day, I teach anywhere from 1 to 4 classes, um, and I am both at a elementary school and a junior high. So, um, depending on the day of the week, I will either be at the junior high or the elementary school. There are some jets that have to do both on the same day. Luckily, I'm not one of those, but that is a possibility. And so most of my time when I'm not teaching in the classroom is spent in the teacher's room. In Japan, all of the teachers share like a shared office workspace.
Yeah,
Um,
Shokuin, right?
yeah,
Shokuin. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I do, I have my own computer, I have my own desk, so I can really get a lot of work done in my spare time at work as well, preparing, like I said, games, activities, things of that nature, worksheets, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then whenever I have a class, I will go with my uh, JTE, which is the Japanese teacher of English,
Mhm.
and I'll go with them to their class, and we will do the class together. Usually, it starts out with just like a kind of warm up greeting. What day is it today? What's the date? How's the weather? Those kind of questions to get them speaking a little bit, and then we'll jump into the lesson for the day. And we have textbooks that we use, so the curriculum is more or less set for us. Um, but we can, depending on the school, depending on the teacher, you can kind of deviate a little bit from it and bring your own ideas and lessons into play. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
So how many different teachers do you work with? And how many hours do you teach a day typically?
Um, Typically, I'm teaching about 3 hours a day. I am at work for a full 8 hours, but
Mhm.
the majority of that time is spent doing prep work,
Yeah,
grading,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, those kinds of things. I do also help students with speech competitions, recitation competitions, and things like that. So I'll have students come in throughout the day, and we'll work one-on-one with with their pronunciations and things like that. And um, yeah, I at my middle school, I work with two different teachers. At my elementary school, I work with three different teachers. And really it's one of those things where it every situation is different. And if you do join the JET program or apply for the JET program, you will hear that said so often. Everybody always tells you, oh, every situation is different, every situation is different. But it's really it's true. So I know some students or I know some people in the JET program who have like one teacher that they do almost all their classes with, and they're at one school and that's it. There are other jets who are at five or six or seven, even 10 schools. And they have multiple teachers at each school. So depending on what city you're in and what the needs are, it varies greatly.
And you don't get to choose where you get dispatched, right? I was
No, you don't get to choose.
right.
When I applied, there is a part on the application. They ask if you have any preferences,
Mm,
and they do say that they take the preferences into account. Um, I'm not sure how much of an influence it has.
right,
I did
right.
not get placed in any of the places that I said that I preferred to be placed in. Um, but I do know that some of the other jets here in Kaga, um, were at least placed nearby to where they wanted to be. Nobody, as far as I know, said Kaga specifically, but
Right,
I know at
right.
least one person said Ishikawa, which is the prefecture that Kaga's in. So I guess, he got pretty close.
Okay. So it sounds like you have some fellow Jets in the area.
Yes.
How many of them do you kind of stay in contact with? Regular?
There are 8 total jets in the city of Kaga. I only interact with 6 of them on a daily basis. Well, not even a daily basis. I'd say on a weekly basis. Um, we have at least one day together at the Board of Education. So we always have at least one day a week. And sometimes we will meet up um, outside of work hours, either just for social things or to discuss work, but for various things. Also, JET has activities that are hosted through the JET program for people to get together and be able to socialize and communicate and things like that. Um, but the JET program is kind of divided between what they call prefectural jets and municipal jets. And I'm a municipal jet, which means I work directly for the city of Kaga. I was hired by the city of Kaga and I work for the Kaga Board of Education. But there are jets who are hired by the prefecture. And um, they usually end up teaching high schools where the municipal jets teach um, at elementary and or junior high. So there are two prefectural jets in my area in Kaga as well. Um, but I have very little interaction with them other than for social reasons. Um, we don't work together at the Board of Education. We don't teach at the same schools or anything like that. So
I didn't know that. So let me ask you this: how comfortable did you feel Japanese?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Sorry, how comfortable did you feel with your Japanese language skills out there?
Um, Going into it, not very well, honestly. I was really nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did take 4 years of Japanese in college, um, but I I don't know. I don't want to say that I struggled with it, but
Yeah,
it
pretty
didn't come
good
easy.
there. Hmm?
Yeah, and also because of the region that I'm in, they have Kansai dialect,
Yeah,
so the language that they speak here is very different from what I learned in
yeah,
school.
yeah.
So it was intimidating at first, but um, I did find that my language skills were good enough that I was able to get by with relatively, little problems. Um, there are a lot of resources to help people out here as well. Most cities have a CIR. I'm honestly not 100% sure what that stands for, but it's coordinator of, I want to say coordinator of international relations or something along those lines.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
but they're hired through the JET program as well. But they do not teach. They
Oh,
are basically translators and they assist the city in general, but one of their jobs is to help the ALTs who are placed there as well. So there was always at least one person that I could go to for, if I had issues, they would be able to help me translate something or tell me what I needed to do to, accomplish what I was trying to do. Um, so even without knowing a lot of Japanese, it's still, I'm sure it makes it more difficult, but it is still possible.
sure. Um, so it's been almost 20 minutes, so I want to ask you some wrap-up questions.
Oh, sure, sure.
Back to your experience at UC,
Yes.
um, what would you do differently with your coursework?
Mhm.
And what was the most positive experience in Asian studies slash?
Um, to answer the first thing first, if I had to do something differently, I think probably the biggest thing is that I would have studied language a lot harder.
Oh,
um, again, it's not that I didn't do well in my language courses. It's not that I didn't study, but yeah, when I was learning it in school, my goal was really to pass my classes and not necessarily to become fluent.
right.
And if I could do it over again, knowing that I was going to get accepted to the JET program, I think I would really try to work on my fluency more. Um, but other than that, I don't think I would do too much differently. I was pretty happy with my experience. I think the best experience that I had was when I did the study abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's really what solidified for me the desire, the dream to want to come back to Japan and really have a career that involves Japan. Before that, it was definitely an interest of mine, and it was something that I kind of had thoughts that I wanted to do, but it didn't really become real for me until I did the study abroad and I actually got to experience, the culture firsthand and um, get to see the culture up close, get to see the country up close. Um, it was a great learning experience and a just great personal experience as well.
Was it the summer program with Dr. Ivanova?
Yes, yes. It was a summer program. It was only about 3 weeks long. Um, but yeah, I went with Professor Ivanova, and it was a guided study abroad. So she came with us. She led um, most of the excursions and the classes, although some classes were taught by staff at Chiba University as well.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
yeah.
And what suggestions do you have about improving Asian studies?
Oh. Um,
More classes.
yeah, I mean, having more classes is never a bad thing. I think, increasing the diversity of subject matter would uh definitely be a good thing. Um, other than that, I'm not really sure,
You
honestly.
tell me later.
Yeah, I'll have to
Privately.
think about it and get back to you on that one.
Um, what advice can you give our current students about, you know, um, uh, getting into the real world after graduation?
Yeah. I would say first and foremost, don't be afraid to try. Even if you aren't sure if it's going to work out or you're not sure if you can do it, I really wasn't sure that I'd be able to do it, especially like I said, coming from a very non-traditional background. I thought, I would probably be disqualified or something, but here I am. So I definitely say, do follow your heart and do what you want to do. Um, I think having a good attitude and good work ethic is really important. Study hard, learn as much as you can beforehand because it'll make everything else a lot easier.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's very nice to see you and talk to you again, although it's
Yeah.
online. And I wish you all the best. I'm very heartened to see that you're doing so well.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I'm really enjoying things here. Life is good in Kaga.
Yeah, that's great. So please stay in touch and
Yes.
let me know if there's anything I can do for you, more
Okay.
recommendation letters, whatever.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if anyone else has, questions or wants to know more about the JET program or living and working in Japan, I'd be happy to answer questions as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right.
And
Thank you.
have a good evening. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.